Hello. So I'm going to present this huge transformation that we are undergoing. We, I, I could call this presentation a series of unfortunate events, but it wouldn't be, you know, my in the archive they wouldn't like it as much. So let me start by presenting, by saying a few words about the ERT Archives. So first of all, ERT Archives is the major content provider in audiovisual content in Greece, and it holds more than 1 million items, and they cover all the important historical and social cultural events in Greece from the beginning of the 20th century until now. It is estimated that we hold more than 8% of Greece's audiovisual heritage. So a few words about our collections. First of all, television programs from over the past 60 years, all types of programs, documentaries, fiction series, informative programs, music, theater, children programs, and sports broadcasts, along with all the national broadcast radio recordings from the early 1950s up until today. Also newsreels and other audiovisual material from the early 20th century. For example, newsreels from the 1940s up until late 80s, news reports since the 1960s, and archival footage and film from the 1910s. I think the first type of film we have is from the Balkan Wars. We also have recorded material from the sessions of the Greek Parliament since 1975. As you probably know, from 1967 to 1974 we had a dictatorship. So as soon as the democracy was restored, ERT was responsible for covering all the sessions of the Greek Parliament. Now we have a specific channel that is assigned to that job. We also have a large photographic archive, more than 550,000 photographs, negatives, prints, all related material. Also printed documents covering the history of the Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation, which in 1939 was began as a radio national broadcaster. These are actually two magazines. The radio program that stopped in 1967, because in 1967, during the dictatorship, the television began in Greece. So then we had the radio television, and we hold all these magazines in our archive, and we are digitizing them. Actually, we recently finished the digitization of these documents. And we also have a very large collection of equipment covering all the evolution of radio and television technology and broadcasting. Now I'm going to talk about our activities. Restoration. We have 16 and 35 millimeters film, 1 and 2 inch tapes, U-matic, Betacam, SP, the works. And we are really proud because we have one of the very few restoration laboratories in Southeast Europe for 2 inch tapes. You probably understand that all older technologies are hard to find, hard to upkeep, hard to keep the knowledge. So we are lucky to have this laboratory because we have a lot of 2 inch tapes. So we use it daily for our material. Now I'm going to talk about the digitization. The first project of digitization in ERT started in 2004. It was a EU co-funded project, and about 30,000 items were digitized, and they're accessible through our site. And ever since, we continue to digitize and upload this material. In 2019, we acquired a laser graphics scanner, so we gave up on the old telecine system, and we have a small but very specialized team of colleagues who scan and do the digitized restoration of our films. One of the things I will talk about later is that since February, and I mean, as we talk now, it's officially beginning. We have a new digitization program that involves about 153,000 tapes of various formats, and I will talk about this a bit more. Documentation. So we use the Dalet Galaxy Media system as our mom, and all documentalists work with that system. We are trying to standardize and implement the workflow of documentation. And we're actually using the EBU core standards. All the descriptive metadata is inserted manually. And the material is organized into folders in a tree-like hierarchical structure for each category of material. Okay, I will talk about it more later on and mention the issues that we're facing in our work as documentalists. About education. We are collaborating, working closely with the schools in Greece and the Ministry of Education. For example, we have in our website a section called ERT Goes to School. It's an ongoing project since 2012. And what we do there is that we link books with material, with our digitized material. So teachers and professors from primary, from all types of schools can use it in an innovative way to interact with students. And also, we have a stage program, and every year students from university and other educational organizations can come for 3 to 6 months. It depends on the type of program. Mostly they work into documentation and digitization of documents, photographs, so they're trained into these sections. And for example, I had some numbers I want to, so we had in 2022, we had 6 university students and 11 students from other institutions. Also, during the, we have a contest called the Schools Broadcast in ERT. And so what we do is that we offer a platform through our site where teachers and students can log in, and they can choose from different thematic folders, material, digitized material from the archive, and they can create their own short films. And then they upload them, and we have judging committees and voting, and the best short film gets an award. So this year we had the award for the previous 2 years because due to the COVID, we couldn't have a ceremony and award the students and the teachers, but it went on because they could do it remotely. They could do it from home. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the hard stuff. In the past 10 years, things have been really strange about ERT and, of course, for the ERT archive. As you probably know, in June 2013, ERT was shut down. I'm not going to get into why and how, and this is a long discussion, and it will also require alcohol. But it happened. What happened during that time? Well, let's see what happened when ERT reopened. It reopened 2 years later, in 2015. At that point, many colleagues retired, others refused to return, and some of them, we've lost them because their health deteriorated, and the closing of ERT was one of the reasons for these incidents. This was really serious because there was a great loss of knowledge and experience in the whole organization, but especially in the ERT archives, because we have been always asking for some more specific programs that would ensure the passing of this knowledge down to the next generation. So during these 2 years, we've lost a lot in that aspect. Fortunately, the archive and the collections remained intact. There were volunteers, colleagues, and security personnel who were there for the whole duration, and they made sure that none of the material was lost. But as you may understand, in terms of infrastructure, software, workflow was disrupted. There were no updates. Machines were out of order. There was no service, no maintenance, etc. And what about metadata? Metadata was left unattended for 2 whole years. Unfortunately, in the first years of reopening of ERT, this was not a priority. They had to get the program back and running, broadcasting. So the archive, even though it was and remains, and now it's even more crucial for ERT, they didn't have the time or the money to assist us in this work with metadata. Also, there was another aspect. Right before the closing of the ERT, we had scheduled an EU funding project that would bring about 10 million euros, and some of that money would go into the digitization of ERT archive and metadata update and all these things that never happened. And this was lost forever. We couldn't, 2 years later, we couldn't ask for that money again. It was a different age at that point. So ERT reopened, but it reopened within the financial crisis. As you also probably heard, we had also this marvelous time when our financial, well, you know what happened. Again, we can talk about it afterwards in more detail. ERT reopened, but as an organization, we didn't have the budget. So they couldn't hire specialized personnel, they couldn't design new projects, they couldn't update existing technologies. or they had to be really picky as to what to update and what not, because budget was really scarce. So, wait, excuse me. Yeah. So, metadata, I've already talked about a few things. So in 2011, 2013, I was hired by ERT Archives along with other documentalists, and we worked on the updating of metadata. During that time, it was actually the first time that ERT Archives hired specialized documentalists who could enrich the metadata. But there were serious issues. At that point, they couldn't afford any money to ask from Dalet to create more specialized features in the MAM. So, for example, we had to create a manual for us and for future documentalists, because we knew that we would be there for only 2 years, and explain how we insert the metadata. And this was really tricky because in case of names, persons, locations, professions, we had no ability to create thesaurus, closed vocabularies, all these useful things that are now given for most of archives. We had to create them in free text form. And we had to lay some ground rules and hope that everybody will follow them. So in a future project, this could be easily handled by the IT specialists, do scripts, and create the tools that we needed. Still, we haven't resolved this. I will talk about it in a while. What happened with Dalet? When my colleagues started working after 2015, we realized that the version of Dalet we had was too old. There was no way to update it. They had to go on a new version. So everything was migrated really fast. Everything had to be transferred from one version to another, because the ERT management decided that this would be the MAM for the whole corporation. So we, again, for the second time, were left wondering when will we get the specialization of our tool. And they said, okay, we understand you need this stuff, but we need to be speedy, we need to do it immediately, we need to use the MAM for the broadcasting, you have to wait. And again, we were waiting. And then the COVID-19 pandemic happened. So again, you know what happened. So distance working, restrictions. So this meant that we had a new working model implemented. And at that point, the role of ERT Archives changed, because the MAM had to go through the archives, and the broadcasting needed the archives to do the work. So suddenly we became a lot more important to the organization, and that was a good thing. The second good thing that happened was that because of the COVID-19, we started working a lot on the Facebook page of the ERT Archives. And it grew very fast. So it existed from 2017. It had something like 20,000 followers. And it went to 150. At the moment we speak, we have more than 150,000 followers. What we do there is that we take clips from the daily stories and articles that we publish in our site, and we take clips and we upload them there with short descriptions and links to the site. So it's a great tool to showcase our material, and it also has transformed our jobs, because as documentalists, we were the ones asked to do this job. So we started doing something new, something really interesting. We were interacting with the users because we had a lot of feedback. And in a way, we became content managers and media managers of sorts. We had to program the weekly posts and the daily posts and the stories and write the text and select the content. And also there was the change in the workflow. Before, it was a workflow that wasn't full digital. Now, and during the pandemic, it became full digital. In order to prepare this presentation, I have talked with many colleagues, and when my colleague who was explaining me the workflow told me that when they were trying to transition to the full digital workflow, before everything was set, they had to exchange large parts of information through email or mobile texts, and it was crazy. And then we come to 2022. Yes, all these changes meant that we had to start working in a different way, in the way that we manage, we preserve, and we promote the collections of the archives. As I said, we went full digital. The archives upgraded and modernized the storage facilities, and we began digitizing a wide variety of analog carriers. Essentially, we see the ERT archives as broadcasting archives now. And as I said at the beginning of my presentation, as a major content provider in Greece. What we do is that we manage we are responsible for the managing and ingesting of the content already digitized, and the first levels of metadata to the MAM. We are responsible for ingesting the digitized material as content in the MAM, and we offer content to the broadcasting services of ERT, the traditional TV program, the two major digital platforms that now ERT has, which is Netflix and Netflix International, and the social media, which at the moment is mainly Facebook, but we like it so much that we want to start doing things with Instagram and Twitter. So this is just to show the difference in the workflow. In the old workflow, you can see that the archives are somewhere in there, assisting and safekeeping the assets after being broadcasted. But in the new workflow, the archives are there from the first moment up until the end. I think that I need to move on, so I won't get into detail. We can discuss it if you want later on. Okay. So, goals. Yes, so now we are fully in charge of gatekeeping any material requests from journalists and professionals inside and outside ERT. And we see ourselves no more as a silo, as only an archive that keeps safe its material, but as a broadcasting archive. So we see ourselves as no longer introvert, and we need to be as open as possible. And in order to do that successfully, we need to get ourselves organized, and that means organize our processes and procedures. So a few words about the ongoing digitization program. As I already mentioned, that's 153,000 tapes. A small part is U-matic, and the rest is Beta SP, Beta Digital, and DVC Pro. The collections are mainly three, mostly news and TV program, and a few selected sports programs. Sports programs, unfortunately, are few because you have a large collection of sports programs that was not kept by the ERT Archives initially. So it was kept by the sports program department, and they would keep everything. So they wouldn't distinguish productions by ERT or outside productions, and the metadata is really scarce. So we need to. This will be in the future a project of its own, almost of its own. The process, in a few words, is that we have teams who are working on the storage facilities, and they are they're finding the material, they are tagging it, and they're moving it into new spaces, because another thing we had to face was the different storage locations that were everywhere around the building. So we said, okay, we need to stop this. We created two specifically equipped storage spaces for this material, and everything is tagged and placed there. So then we have a team that creates the manifests. These are actually Excel sheets that contain about 2,500 titles each, and they get into a preliminary database that is Oracle-based, and this is the first step where they get the first metadata, and after that, they are being digitized and they enter the MAM. We will not destroy the original tapes. We will keep them. In a previous presentation, I heard exactly what we are thinking about. We want to be sure of the quality of the digitization, and since we have the space and we can afford it, there is no need to discuss the destruction of the material, at least not yet. Okay. Okay, let's talk a bit about the MAM and metadata. We know that Dalet Galaxy allows for a variety of customizing and upgrades, and this will be the third time that we will attempt to use these tools. Fortunately, the ERT management has announced that the next project will include this type of update. So we are preparing ourselves to do that in order to update the documentation and allow for an easier and quicker access to our material. At this point, we have we have two types of documentation. We have the broadcast documentation, so it has the metadata, the necessary metadata, all the technical metadata, and title name, a year production, and maybe a short description if available. And then we have what we call the archive documentation, which is the more in-depth documentation, and all the result of the research and the work me and my team is doing for the archive. Okay. Also, at the moment, we are planning a new site for the archive because it's already 10 years old, and we want to create a modern interface to service this speedy, easy navigation through our collections. We want to update and streamline the services for online research because we have many requests also from outside the archives for material, and we need to be able to accommodate directors, producers, audiovisual professionals in the best way possible. And also we need to have a platform as documentation specialists, but also media managers or content curators, because we have, from what we've done with Facebook, we have many ideas and we want to implement them. We want to create stories, tributes to persons, to events. For example, last year was the anniversary, the 200 years from the Greek Revolution. We did some articles on that, and also it was it was 2 years ago. Last year was the 100 years from the Asia Minor destruction. So we had a very large collection of clips from refugees and from almost 15 years of television programs that was documented their experience, the way they lived in Asia Minor, the events, the war, the migration, the terrible conditions they met when they came to Greece, and how they adopted and they continued their lives. So these are examples of the things we'd like to do and we want to do and we can do because we have the material. And so next steps. We are also planning an ERT disaster recovery. So this will be a backup system. This will be in a different building in another area of Athens. There will be a second data center, and everything, every record from the MAM will be copied and sent there. We have a black fiber connection system. Okay. Okay, now about the role of the archivists. So, seeing the new technologies, seeing the changes in our organization in the archives, we're seeing the challenges and the changes in our jobs. We want to acquire new skills, and we want to learn from other archives what they're doing with cutting-edge technology. We want to follow the examples, learn about good practices. At the same time, since we are the major media content provider in Greece, we need to address the users' needs. So we have to adapt, and we have to be able to distinguish their needs and how to serve them and serve them. Okay, I've already talked about the new conditions and the success of our Facebook page. Okay, so when we started talking with with IT specialists in ERT, they were calling our metadata as legacy metadata, and we tried to explain to them all the things that I said to you, that this is not actually legacy metadata because we're still using it. and it's functional. It's difficult to work with, but it's a treasure trove, and we cannot discard it. We need to get back and work to it. It's unorthodox for an IT specialist because he thinks, what are you talking about? This should have been done ages ago. We need to do something else. But for us as documentation experts, it's all our work in there. So we need to find solutions. We need to create projects to update and make it reusable and actually easy to use, not only for us, because we have trained ourselves to use it. We need to make it accessible for the 200 users inside ERT that use our MAM, and they're looking through the archives and they're trying to find material. But also for the users outside who will be entering our site and they will be searching our database. Do I have any? Is it okay? Sorry, I will try to wrap up. We understand that things have not been normal. All these events have affected the way ERT and ERT Archive has evolved in the past few years. Also, these conditions have upset the cost of operations and the duration of these operations. But still we need to adapt to these conditions. It's important that we see documentation specialists. We are open to learn new skills and be trained in new aspects. For example, we have already suggested that when Dalet comes to update all these things about the metadata and the database, that we should be included in this training program. I mean, we use the Dalet and we know how it works, at least all its basic functions. So why not train ourselves on a deeper level and make us more useful for the archive and allow us to experiment and take our job a bit further. And at the end, I only thought about questions, and I'm just going to let you go through them. We need to invest in user experience. We need to find out what our users want. We need to definitely harmonize and standardize our databases and archiving systems. We need to exchange knowledge internally and with other archives. It's totally necessary. We need to invest in networking between archives. In terms of strategy, we need to continue to be present online. We need to adapt to the new market needs and accept this transformation. It's not something bad. It's useful, it's challenging and interesting. And we need to be pragmatic, speedy, and invest equally on people and AI. So that's it. Thank you.